Seriously though, how cute is this Giggle Squid? These are in honor of The Adventures of Giggle Squid, a new children's book by Matt Fisher. Fun story, cute, easy to read words. Very cool. If you want to check this out for yourself, you gotta check out a link in the description below. Thank you. So you'll remember in the late 80s, rolling into the early 90s, it was that Nintendo versus Sega. Some people were pro Nintendo, some people were pro Sega, and then you had the alternative being the TurboGrafx-16. I had a lot of love for both. I was a self-admitted Nintendo fanboy, but I went through my stages where I played a whole lot of Sega as well. And along with Nintendo and along with Sega, I also loved my TurboGrafx-16 because it just looked dark, it looked menacing, it had that turbo buttons on, like actually on the official controller that it came with. There's little turbo switches, so you could actually have your whatever buttons that you need have turbo on them as well, and it had a run button instead of a start button. It felt a little bit more computer, a little bit more PC. It felt like the system was more powerful because it was running on a computer for a run button instead of a start button, and not some electronic home console or something like that. It had great games like Bonk's Adventure, Military Madness, Blazing Lasers, these arcade style quality games that if you came on the other systems, it would just like be a port of that kind of game. But with the TurboGrafx-16, it was like the actual arcade game at home, and no one else was talking about this. Everyone else was fighting over Nintendo, everyone else was fighting over Sega, and I have this hole in the wall type restaurant, this little hidden gym, this thing that's all me and it's all mine, and no one is talking about it, even though it's the greatest thing ever. There's things on there like Tailspin for the TurboGrafx-16 was better than the NES version as far as I was concerned. Late nights playing Military Madness, passing the controller back and forth. It was such a wonderful thing, and no one was really talking about it, but the few who did were really, really passionate about it. But even if you had the TurboGrafx-16, there were these great NES games. Mega Man, Mega Man 2, Castlevania, Contra, Jackal, so many more great games that if you wanted to play those, you had to play them on the NES. Until now. When someone told me recently that they actually put some NES games on TurboGrafx-16 cards that actually play in a TurboGrafx-16, I had to check them out for myself. So here you have something like Mega Man, and you're like, okay, maybe they put it on an emulator through a disc or something like that, but no, it is an actual turbo chip, a HuCard. Or is it HuCard? If it's Hudson Soft, I don't know. But I'm telling you, with something like that, play Mega Man on a TurboGrafx-16, if I would have saw this back in the late 80s, it would have blown my mind, kind sir. In this video, we're going to look at what these games look like on a TurboGrafx-16. They don't look one-to-one, they don't really sound one-to-one, but they're pretty good. Now, I did not make these. I will get that out of the way right now. And if you want a comparison, I have the Japanese version of Altered Beast for the TurboGrafx-16. It was have a little foam thing on it. So there's kind of a side-by-side comparison. You can see the differences on what makes it legit or whatever. There's a little back. This one does feel a little bit heavier and it feels a little thicker and maybe a little bit more raw, but it's, man, it works. That's the thing. Now, if you're wondering, no, I did not make these. And as far as buying them, maybe some searches. Now, I found these through a TurboGrafx-16 forum on Facebook, of all things. And so I was like, hey, I have these games, and if anybody wants one, grab one. And I was like, man, I gotta check it out, right? So I will at least leave a link to the forum I found them if you're on Facebook. I don't know where else I can find it, but I'm sure there's more out there like this. And this one particularly, there's even some extra options on here. We're gonna show that along with all the other games I can find for the TurboGrafx-16 ported from the NES. And as far as I know, you can't just dump the ROM onto a turbo chip, so to speak. You actually have to bring it through a customized thing that somebody made, and he has the, whatever it is, I'm just like, you know what, I'll leave it as a magic trick. Don't show me how the cards are done. Let's see and hear how some of these games look when they're on the TurboGrafx-16. Well, we'll start with an easy one like Super Mario Brothers. That's kind of a universally known game, right? And right off the bat, I mean, you can see a couple of graphical deals at the very top of the screen, but it looks and feels and kind of sounds like Super Mario Brothers. It's interesting when it starts, it's almost like it kind of generates as it goes when you look at it in slow motion. And several games on this list are going to have some instances like that if you look closely. How about a perennial favorite, Castlevania? Check this out. I mean, yeah, it gets the job done. I mean, you know, sure, it's Castlevania, right? And again, if you do a couple of the slowdown things, I just think it looks cool. I like the fact that it looks like it's thinking. It's like it's, you know, drawing itself as it's going. But Castlevania has always been a favorite for the NES, and it was cool to see that they could actually put this onto a working TurboGrafx-16 game. Oh, Mega Man 2, here we go. Oh, who do you start with? Well, if you grew up reading Nintendo Power, you may start with Airman. And in case you're wondering, if you hold A and B, yep, you get the birds. It's pretty Mega Man 2. I mean, can't deny that. Looks like Mega Man 2 to me. I mean, all the way down to like when it scrolls into the screens and all that, you know? And even when you defeat the boss, you get your little power-up. Oh, there you go. Now here's what Mega Man, the first one, looks like. It gives you a start menu, it gives you options as well. And some of the options, either on easy or normal, but then there's also, you can change the values of the channels, of the music, of the something. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't exactly know what each thing does, but it does give you that option, which is kind of cool. When I play Mega Man 1, I often start with Bomb Man, but I'll start with Cut Man this time around. And again, I mean, it's pretty good, right? It's Mega Man. You know, I can show you more of this, but it'll just be looking at the same thing. It's Mega Man as Mega Man, right? Probably the most least known of these games, looking at Robo Warrior. And I just love that weird kind of, if you slow it down, all the little graphical things happen. I love that. Robo Warrior, if you're not familiar, it's an alright game. You walk around, it's a little Bomberman-like, because you always have bombs, but you gotta plant your bomb, walk away, blow up the enemies, you know. Alright, how about everyone's favorite here? In case you're wondering, yes, of course, you can do the Konami code. Get your 30 lives. I need it when I play this game. But it's Contra indeed. You like Contra? They got it for the TurboGrafx-16. All the way down to defeating the base, defeating the boss here. Slow it down, check out the weird graphical thing that happens. And when you're walking down the corridor, you can really see how the graphics kind of, you know, generate as you're going down. I don't even need to slow it down on this one. Super awesome game in Jackal. Man, I love Jackal. And plays great for the TurboGrafx-16, what can I say? I know not nearly as popular as Ducktales, the first one. However, Ducktales 2 is actually a very, very, very good game as well. A little high up there on price now, but you can also play it on the TurboGrafx-16, which I think is super cool. I mean, the fact that you can play any game on the TurboGrafx-16 is super awesome. But, you know, just the fact that you have this option, I suppose, if you're a diehard TurboGrafx-16 fan, but you're just like, you know what? I want to play this. My favorite NES games on the TurboGrafx-16, there's a few options out there, not many, but there's a few of them, and they're out there. As per usual, if it exists, it's out there. Quick video, fun video today. Just thought I'll show these off, and you're just like, hey, what about Arkanoid? Whatever happened to that? Well, this is just the case for it. I have no idea where the game... It's probably in my pile of stuff. I don't know. As long as I still have access to these two, I think I'll be okay. And if you loved TurboGrafx-16 as much as I did, I have some great TurboGrafx-16 recommendations. Maybe some games that you haven't heard of, or maybe just some games that you can always get started into when you start getting into TurboGrafx-16. You gotta check out these videos too. If you love TurboGrafx-16, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you real soon.